Welcome to the Wise Practice Podcast. And today on the show, I have Ana Sasser-Christian. I'm so glad that you're here with us today. Let me tell you a little bit about her, and then we're going to jump into some live consulting. So, Ana is the founder, and she's a play therapist at Little Dove Counseling, a boutique family centered practice in Walnut Creek, California. Inspired by her upbringing in a diverse family of 9 siblings through adoption, foster care, and biological ties, she helps families build deep, lasting connections through play and expressive arts. With a creative and relational approach, her mission is to foster environments where families and staff can thrive through every season of life. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Whitney.
Yeah. Great. Well, before we kind of dive into it, I know people kind of like to get to know the person on the podcast. So, Anna, tell us a little bit about where you're from, maybe a little bit about you personally, maybe the great thing that happened in your life the past few months. You could share that with us as well.
Yeah. So I am originally from the Southeast. Right now I live in the Bay Area in California, and I just welcomed my first little baby into the world about 7 months ago. So he's
Mm.
taking up all the time right now. He's so fun and special.
Oh, yes. Love it. Love it. And then you have Little Dove Counseling. When did you start that practice?
Little Dove started a little over 2 years ago.
Nice. And then you grew into a group practice. And so, can you tell us a little bit about your group practice, like kind of the size and how you do cash pay insurance, just a little bit more of the setup so people have a context about you and your business?
Yeah, so we are a team of 7 clinicians plus myself when I can see clients. And we're private pay, and we primarily work with children and families, specializing in early childhood mental health and family therapy.
Nice. Well, thank you for that. You have grown quickly, but that means you're doing really good, important work, and a lot of the clients need it. So glad that you're there. So today we're going to do some live consulting, and I'm excited about the question that you have today. So why don't you share that here, and then we'll kind of dive into it.
Yeah, so my question for you, Whitney, is how can I become more aware of the ways I'm showing up as a leader for my team, both good and bad?
Mm, great question. First of all, I really love that you're thinking about that. I think that that transition that occurs from a solo practice to a group practice, I mean, you can attest this, it's hard. It's
Mhm.
hard. And the more our practice grows, the more we move from that place of seeing clients to actually managing a team and being a leader. So I think you already are in a good place because you're actually asking questions about that and thinking about how you can best lead your team. That's admirable.
Mhm.
So yeah. So I would love to hear a little bit more of kind of what brought this question to the front of your mind. Are there some things going on that are making you wonder about leadership?
Yeah, so on our team, we talk a lot about co-regulation because we're constantly sort of supporting family members and helping each other connect and regulate and communicate. And so I'm just very aware of the way I show up in the room for my staff. My everything impacts them, right? And I'm realizing I really need to be the anchor for our team and be able to hold kind of a clear vision of what we're doing. And kind of through that process, I've started to realize that, oh, I found myself in a leadership role. Not
Yeah.
thinking that through. And sometimes I think that my uncomfortableness with being in that role can impact, the team, and it can set, unclear expectations. Perhaps I can be just not clear on where I'm leading. And I think that would cause kind of stress and confusion for the team. So I'm really wanting to get better at understanding how am I showing up and how do I impact the team in the ways in which I do show up. And I'm not really sure how to do that because I didn't really think that part through when I started a group practice.
Hmm. Well, it is so true that it isn't something we think. I mean, as who we are as therapists and as Christians. We're thinking about impact in the world and helping our community, helping therapists find jobs they love. And I think a lot of us didn't think through what that leadership role looked like. And especially as our practice grows and yours grew quickly, like it's even more important. But you're asking some really great questions and already showing a lot of awareness. So as I'm hearing and thinking about this, the first thing, and honestly, Anna, you kind of said this, and I'm going to piggyback and go into it, is our own selves. How you said how I show up in the room. We know this as therapists, but the same is true for us as leaders. So how am I showing up with my team? And that's all going to come back to how well I know myself. All right. And as Christians, we know how important our faith is. And so, really going back to, first of all, how am I caring for all aspects of who I am, my spiritual life? Am I spending time in the Word? Am I in prayer? Am I resting? Am I meditating? Am I listening? And caring for my soul. So I think so much of being a leader and even looking back when I'm feeling more connected to God, I lead better and I'm more aware of myself in those quiet moments in prayer, right? And when I'm busy and I kind of neglect that, I find myself making more mistakes, not listening as well and not leading as well. Do you find that to also be the case for you?
Yes,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so hard. And the more that things start to pile up, is the more that I start to struggle. And it's not just about the things, it's about not caring for myself.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I would say it's the first step. And kind of going along with that, and the word that you even used was self awareness. So, how can we become more self aware with who we are? And that can be in our work, but also outside of our work. It all can kind of feed each other, right? Our personal lives and our work. And so I guess I'm going to ask you this question, and then I can also answer. What are some things that you do to improve your self-awareness?
Mm. I think that's a great question because before having a baby, I did take a lot of, a quiet time with the Lord, and like I would go on walks, I would exercise, I would think, I would sleep. And then after having a baby, a lot of those spaces have gone away. And so
Mm,
I would think that I would need to be more intentional about even like scheduling those things into my calendar to just even have a moment of space to think about self-awareness, to think about what might be going on
mm.
because of the busyness.
Yeah. Well, I think all moms feel that way, especially new moms not getting that sleep. And I think one thing that's so beautiful about being a person of faith is God is everywhere all the time, right? And so when you are on that walk with you with the stroller and you're pushing your baby or you're, trying to fall asleep at night, like all those are moments for connection. It's not necessarily going to be the sit down and pray for 30 minutes and focus, it might be I'm holding my baby on my chest while I'm in a time of prayer and waiting on God, and I think those moments can be just as beautiful, for paying attention and listening. And I can think of so many times where I felt so overwhelmed, and it was just those moments of connection with my child kind of brought me back to, okay, this is what matters. This is the most important part of my day. And I think the Lord feels that way with us too. When we just have even 5 minutes, it's
Mhm.
special.
Mm. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. I For self-awareness, I do think the whole being quiet is a big part of it, and doing our own reflective work. So that might be going to therapy to help bring your own self-awareness, reading books about self-awareness or about business development, to see different things to pay attention to about yourself, because that might show you, oh goodness, like this is who I am. Like I've been talking about this a lot. So I know you've heard this. I've been really getting into EOS and the concept of traction or the book Traction with EOS. And before I read that book, they have like books within the series, and one of them was Rocket Fuel, which is about the relationship with the integrator. Yeah, it sounds like a crazy word. It's not math. even though some math is involved. Integrator and visionary. And I'm the visionary. And when I read that book, it just put all these words and helped me see the way that I was, if that
Mm.
makes sense. I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, I do make impulsive decisions. Or, oh, I am super passionate and make emotional decisions more than logical decisions. And so that brought me self-awareness reading
Mm.
that, you know?
Mhm. Mhm.
So I think getting into specific books and resources related to leadership will also improve that self-awareness for you.
Mm. Yeah.
So the next thing I was thinking about as you were asking, and I feel like you used this word, you said clarity on leadership.
Mhm.
And I think that's spot on. That and even the Bible verse, oh boy, I want to quote it correctly. It's like where there is no vision, the people perish, right?
Mhm.
And so as leaders, when we don't have a set vision for where our practice is going, we do
Mhm.
tend to lead without direction,
Mhm.
haphazardly. We're making impulsive decisions. But I think when we're talking about how do I become a better leader and make better decisions, I think knowing where you're going is a big part of that. And I'm curious what you think about this. Do you find that kind of as you've been laying the groundwork and starting to grow your practice, is it hard to see where you're going to be 2, 3, 5 years from now?
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. Mhm.
Yeah, it's hard to see. What do you think makes it hard to like set a vision for your practice?
Mm. I think that a lot of things about the practice unfolded sort of above my expectations. Like, I feel like the Lord was just really good in making it this really great experience. With that, I did not realize that I kind of put work on an altar and it takes over my life. And so as I've learned that about myself, I've seen like this is a really great, like beautiful thing that's happening. And I can get way too caught up in it. And so it's made me really pause as far as, okay, what are next steps? Where might we be in a few years? And a big reason I also started the practice was I wanted flexibility to take care of my kiddos. Well, that happened really fast, you know? So it was kind of like all the things I had sort of hoped for happened and then some. So I've sort of been in this holding pattern of, okay, well, then what does the Lord want? Because I know I could just get super into it and just go, 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 but I would lose everything, right? I would not, my family, my life, like I could easily get very caught up in it. And so I think that's a piece of me, like not being sure where to go because I've learned that about myself, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you said that so well. I can resonate with your experience and just the idea of making our work kind of a god or an altar, I think that that's so true. And so it's figuring out how do we have this balance of direction and vision that we feel like God's given us, but not the direction and vision that we've created for ourselves, you know?
Mhm.
And I do feel like early in our practice, it is very, I mean, I still feel this way sometimes. It's, building the plane while you fly it feeling.
Mhm.
I was also thinking about that verse, man, it's like man creates the plan, but God directs his steps. I think it's a proverb.
Mhm.
I'll have to look some of these up after we're done. But that's kind of when I think about vision, as you were sharing, like, yes, we create where we think we want to go, where we feel like God is asking us to go. And then we give it to him with open hands and say, this is the plan I've created. This is the direction I'm taking this team. And if this is not the plan you have, change it. Make it work for what you want. And I can tell you, Anna, just really in the past couple of months, have I really started creating more of a long-term vision for my practice. Like I used to create maybe well, 1 year, maybe sort of we'll get there. But there was just always so much in front of me that like I almost see myself like on this path and I'm constantly picking up the trash and moving it out of the way because I can't even walk forward, right? Because it
Mm.
felt so disorganized. And now I feel like it's kind of at a place where I am kind of walking along and I actually feel like I've got some people with me walking along and we're figuring out where we're going and we see it now. We see where we're going. And so I would say a big part of being a leader, clearing up the space. And that might be you're going to have to make hard decisions with team members or with policies or with whatever to get some things that are distracting you out of the way. Having some people help you clean up. But really, when you can do that, you can start having some mental space to think about where you're going, and to
Mm.
pray about that and look at that vision. And really, it was just a few months ago where I had a day where I wasn't technically at work, but I worked because it gave me space to really think about what I wanted and where we were going in a lot of different ways. So I think getting clarity is a way that you become a better leader because without clarity, you don't really know where you're going.
Mm. Mhm. Yeah, that that definitely resonates, and I think now that you mention it, the one thing I have been really clear on is wanting people to keep going with, wanting to create some type of a leadership structure because I'm realizing that I'm tapping out as far as my skill set goes,
Hmm.
and I need a couple of other people to, broaden the effectiveness.
Yeah, definitely. Well, as you continue to grow and wait on God and clarity, I know that the right people will come at the right moment for you.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's something we'll be waiting and praying for. I think another really important quality as you figure out like good and bad is listening to your team.
Mm.
Now, I think this one's really dicey
Mhm.
because so many things. We want to take everything our team members say and first of all, give them space to talk. Spending time with them. That might be that you hang out with them or have a meeting once a month. Or one time I went to one of my team members to get our nails done, like providing space and opportunities for conversation. And that doesn't have to all be work. It doesn't all have to be reprimands. It can be just, hey, tell me some great things going on. Providing space for them to share with you. And then when they do share, taking that feedback and being humble about it, thanking them for it first, even though we get offended. I get offended. And then taking that and praying through it and saying, is this who I am? Is this what I've done? And Anna, I know you because we've known each other for a while. That's something you're so great at is listening to your team and saying, hey, here's some ways I could have improved. That humility is very evident for you. And so I would say that's a big part is listening to our team. But then in the same vein, if it's not accurate and fully true, that we don't take that on, that negativity, and that we know where that line is between that's something I want to change and hey, that's something that's on them that they've got to figure out. And so I think that's an important distinction that we have to make there. And that's one of the values of having other group practice owners that you know and admire that you can share these things with because they can help you see the things that we don't see.
Mm. Mhm. Yeah, that's really helpful.
Yeah. Do you find that to be the case when you're getting feedback from team members? Like maybe it's kind of hard to separate like which part of that is them being upset and which part of it is actually me needing to change something. Do you find that challenging?
I do. I think in the past several months, I've gotten better at hearing their concern and then waiting before trying to fix it. I know you have like a 24-hour rule or something like that with responding to requests, which I've lived by and probably should have like a longer rule for things pertaining to like money or things I feel particularly charged about. So it's I do think that in the moment I feel very like, oh my gosh, I have to fix this. And usually if I'm able to allow myself space, it gets better. I think actually maybe the harder part for me recently has been grounding in what I am good at
Mm.
because I just want to be better all the time and I can't. right? I can only be where I'm at. And so I think sometimes I wish I had a little bit more self-awareness around where I am grounded in, because I think I do just jump to problem solving and, oh, I need to fix and be better, versus saying, no, this is a reasonable way to go about this, or that kind of thing.
Hmm. Yeah. Hey, I agree that I've seen you get better about that too. It's
Thank you.
really, it's a really hard skill as a anyone in leadership is being able to take those things and figure that part out and grow in that confidence. And I've definitely seen you do that. My last one here is getting coaching. I think it's like we go to school to become good therapists, and then we go into these leadership roles. And do we continue to educate ourselves and get coaching on that? A lot of times we don't. We just keep running our business. And I have found that those that are consistently doing the work of learning how to be better bosses and run a business are the ones whose businesses thrive, and putting in that effort. And I can certainly tell you about times that I invested in my own coaching, are times that I look back on, I'm like, dang, that's when a lot of change happened in a good way for me. I learned so much about myself, and I know that I've talked about that a lot on the podcast. So I do think engaging in your own business coaching can really make a difference.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Yeah,
We've
yeah.
done a lot of that together.
Yes, we have. So let's talk about that for a few minutes. I think we met exactly 2 years ago on Instagram. I was thinking about this today.
Yeah, that's true, because in 2 days that'll mark my or my 2-year anniversary of hiring my first employee, and we
Mm-hmm.
talked right before then. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember sitting in my living room messaging with you on Instagram because there was a hurricane coming. Welcome to
hmm
Savannah. And I was like, I'm not sure when I'll be able to talk and when the power will be on and off.
hmm hmm
So we've kind of been on and off, some individual work, some group work for the past 2 years. And it's just amazing. A lot of times we sit and we give ourselves a hard time about where we're not at. But, sitting here talking with you and thinking about where you were 2 years ago, I mean, wow. You were running a group practice and there are 8 therapists, right? Including yourself. And you didn't even have a group practice basically 2 years ago. You just started it.
hmm Yeah.
So,
And
when things get hard, you got to give yourself that credit, and you've put in the work, to really make that grow, and you're doing a beautiful job.
yeah. Well, thank you. The coaching has been really, really helpful. Even just the trick of like wait 24 hours to respond to a request, hire in twos, those two things gone a long, long way.
Oh, thank you. Well, hey, I learned most things the hard way, so I'm trying to keep everybody else from making my mistakes.
Well, thank you for doing that.
Yeah. So Anna, could you talk a little bit about your experience in the Wise Practice membership community? What are some of the things that you really have enjoyed about it?
Yeah. Let's see. So I think I'm in my third round of masterminds, and that's been amazing. I was partnered up with someone in my first mastermind group, and like as an accountability partner, and she's since then become, you know, a best friend, and she covered my practice when I went on maternity leave, and we're very close. So lifelong friendship is a big one when you're a group practice owner. You have someone who gets it. And then as far as the coaching, we've done like lots of different types of things. I'm coming to the summit this year, so I'm excited to see that. And then we've done individual and group coaching. And you pretty much coached me since I started the practice. So I don't really know what it's like to try to run a group without a Whitney, but I would I would definitely suggest maybe having a Whitney, because I will say that I think you've given me a heads up on a lot of things that could have gone very badly. So you really helped me like lay a foundation. So the course correcting that I have done has been a little bit more nuanced. Like I've been able to think about how's my leadership style versus like, you know, my bank account is super in the negative. I'm overpaying therapist or something like that. So things that are less on fire, I think, is like the result of the long-term coaching. Is I can kind of
Mm,
there's not quite so many like, oh, we have to fix this right now. Like I can't, keep
yeah.
running the business this way or something like that. So I'm really grateful for that foundation so that we can just kind of work together on like nuances and changes and the group can hold that while I'm working on things like on myself, like this
That's
question.
right. That's right. That's such a good point of the group being able to sustain while you're doing some other things for you. And
hmm
I agree. When I think back on most of the coaching, especially people starting and growing a group practice, it is keeping yourself from falling into those ditches that could get in the way so that you can have more progress and thrive. And you certainly have done that and you've put in the work. So I'm grateful for that. And yes, so I'm looking forward to finally meeting you in person in Greenville. I can't believe it. We almost met in person in Hawaii. I don't think we realized we were both in the same place till after. That was
Oh,
like
that's
right
true.
after we met. Yep. But looking forward to seeing you in Greenville. And your accountability partner, have y'all met in person before?
That's so funny. I don't think we have. She lives
I don't
3 hours away, but she's coming to the summit too. That's hilarious. She was going to come to my baby shower, and then there was like this giant storm. So I thought we had, but no, we haven't.
Isn't
She,
that funny? And you get so close to somebody, even remotely through Zoom and all the things, that you don't even realize you haven't met them before, technically in person. So, oh,
Mhm.
that's going to be a beautiful like experience. A couple of years ago, some people that were in a mastermind group that were accountability partners finally met in person, and that was really cool. So I'm looking forward to seeing you at the summit and all the other practice owners. And I appreciate you choosing to work with me. There are a lot of consultants out there and choosing to be a part of the Wise Practice community. So, Anna, are there anything you're going to kind of take with you here from our consult, our live consult?
Yeah, honestly, I think it's slowing down and making sure I'm really connecting with the Lord. Like the first
Mm,
thing you said, that was what resonated the deepest. I was like, oh yeah. Yeah, which is hard to
mm,
do when you have a little baby and all the crazy. But it's also just like a comfort that I don't have to like produce this thing inside myself through like myself. So I really appreciate that reminder.
mm. Well, we all need it. So, well, thank you for coming on and being so honest and vulnerable with us. It was helpful for me and for others. And I look forward to seeing you in our next mastermind and at the summit.
Thank you, Whitney.